Crypto. All the crypto news in one place.
MicroStrategy and SAYLOR came in with their biggest buy order of Bitcoin ever. Strategy purchased 22,305 Bitcoin for an aggregate price of $2.13 billion. And you might be asking, well, why does Bitcoin not move, right? Bitcoin's down and they just bought $2 billion worth. It's because it's all OTC, right? MicroStrategy is going to the OTC desk to acquire that Bitcoin, which is why it's not hitting the market and pumping up the price of Bitcoin.
What I don't like about this chart is it doesn't share more than 3 years. If you go to Crypto Quant, their normal plans start at 3 years, so you can't go more than 3 years. So we only have to January 23. The problem is all of 22 was a bear market. So we don't have really of any of the clean data that we want on this. I might have to do a little more research on this one, but ETFs also had a bad day. Net outflows on Monday snapped the 4-day inflow streak. Did bring in 1.8 billion. They've now pulled out about 400 million. And Trump's aggressive trading rhetoric is also pushing the market into full de-risking mode. So that's what we're seeing right here. Zooming in on this, I did want to blow it up just a little here. You can see now this during an uptrend does mark bottoms. Only problem is, are we in an uptrend? It's like a bear flag during a bear market. Bear flags keep printing and keep printing and keep printing until you get to the bottom. So no one knows, is this going to be the bottom or not? But I do have something about a death cross, Drew. Death cross that might freak some people out here. Death cross pointing at a $58,000.
Bermuda teams up with Coinbase and Circle, aiming to build a fully on-chain economy. What does this mean? Well, first off, I don't like the picture they used of Brian Armstrong here. He was wearing a pink tie. And this guy was wearing a pink tie too. I met that guy at Consensus one time. Anyways. The government of Bermuda says fully working with Coinbase and Circle to build what is described as fully on-chain economy, using digital assets as everyday financial infrastructure. The incentive aims to pilot stablecoin payments across government agencies and expand USDC adoption among local businesses and support financial institutions, integrating tokenization and other digital finance tools. You know what's interesting about this? I said that Coinbase was going to be one of the first banks, and that Circle, USDC, was going to be the CBDC of the world.
If you do look back, remember how everybody used to cry, like it would be amazing to get institutions into the space, to get politics, etc., to advance crypto. And then once they started coming in and we started seeing how, they have the pocketbooks to buy, and they're buying and they're buying and they're buying. And now it's like we're crying wolf. Now it's like, oh my gosh, the institutions are in here. They're buying, they're dumping, their market manipulation. And I was saying that last year, it's like I talk a lot of BS, I just like to banter on the timeline. And one of the things that I would always say is like, oh my gosh, the institutions are market manipulating the market. Because if you see that in traditional trading, I mean, it's obvious in my opinion.
Now, over here, we do have Justin. U.S. crypto market structure bill could pass within a month. Coinbase says a U.S. Bitcoin and crypto market structure bill may pass within the next month. CEO Brian Armstrong noted that the legislation, widely believed to be the Clarity Act, remains on track despite a recent delay caused by industry opposition. A scheduled Senate committee vote was postponed after Coinbase briefly withdrew support, but negotiations are expected to resume shortly. And yeah, they did, pull out their support on this bill, and it was for crucial reasons. Again, I mentioned it many times over. There's a lot of issues with the bill regarding, number one, like when we think about DeFi, I mean, the regulations around DeFi within this bill would have harmed the DeFi space in a massive way. Then, of course, yes, we go back to the stablecoin yield argument. There's a lot of things wrong with this bill.
This is Galaxy CEO Michael Novogratz talking about the Clarity Act specifically and kind of what he foresees.
We're down in DC. I spent a day and a half down there this week. I fundamentally think a bill is going to get done in the next few weeks. The Democratic senators in earnest want to get something done. The Republican senators in earnest want to get something done. These are complicated bills. It would be complicated if me and you sat down and tried to write the bill. But when everyone is pushing for their own agenda.
Right. Well, let me ask you about the bill, because I think there's many more sticking points than that. But the two that people focus on right now is just what authorities the CFTC has versus the SEC, and perhaps maybe the bigger one.
So tomorrow, though, and for those who do not know, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act tomorrow, the Senate Agriculture Committee is releasing its draft, all right? Its draft tomorrow, full legislation text expected. The markup hearing is still for the 27th. The committee will formally debate and vote on the bill. And what to expect, as you guys can see what's going on, the version of the Clarity Act is expected to focus heavily on defining digital commodities and giving the CFTC exclusive oversight of the crypto spot markets. There's been some recent friction. Of course, we know about this. The Senate Banking Committee handles the SEC-focused portion of the bill, had to cancel its markup session because of the industry play. We know all that. That's what caused a lot of this.
This was the Holy Grail. It meant that truly decentralized crypto projects could finally operate without the constant threat of a Wells notice. Senate Banking Committee Chairman Tim Scott had been working on this for months. The White House wanted it, the crypto industry wanted it. It looked like a done deal. But then came the midnight amendments. Late on Monday night, the 12th of January, just 3 days before the scheduled vote, Senator Scott's office released a 278-page amendment to the bill. Now, in Washington, they call this a manager's amendment, and it's supposed to be a cleanup of the text, fixing typos and clarifying language. But when the lawyers at Coinbase, Kraken, and A16Z started reading the fine print, they realized this wasn't a cleanup. It was a rewrite, and it was filled with poison pills. The first poison pill was a de facto ban on tokenized equities. Now, for the last year, the narrative for 2026 has been real-world assets. We've been talking about tokenizing stocks, bonds, real estate, and much more besides. Coinbase had publicly stated that their strategy for 2026 involved launching a market for tokenized stocks.
So imagine this. A hacker exploits a smart contract, siphons off some juicy USDT profits, and you think, okay, classic DeFi drama. But here's a twist. Just 2 hours later, they get hacked. The attacker left their winnings exposed in the very contract that they used for the exploit, and someone else swooped in through an overlooked Uniswap v3 callback and drained it right back. If you're into poetic justice, this was DeFi's version of slapstick. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind him. Now, in this space, even the bad actors have to watch their backs, because we all love a good white hat hacker, don't we? That wasn't even close to the craziest thing that happened in crypto this month.
The United States is planning on building their Bitcoin reserve with seized holdings. Now, they won't build their entire reserve with seized holdings, okay? But it is going to be part of their plan. And I'm going to tell you why this is very, very interesting here as we move along. So at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Bessent announced that the United States government will hold on to seized Bitcoin from criminal cases to build a digital asset reserve. Now, remember, the United States has a lot of Bitcoin seized from Silk Road. Okay. And all of this comes after President Trump's March 2025 executive order. The government already possesses 200,000 to 328,000 Bitcoin.
Recent reports showed that more than 100 countries, more than 100 central banks don't have a fast payment system. And fast payment system is very important for any economy, to make the economy efficient, for example. That will also help to reach the goal of cashless-based economy. And this is type of digital product.
The irony of this clip is that there was an actual landline telephone going off in the background, as they're talking about modernizing the financial system. And yet we believe that these people are the ones that can actually do it. Like it or not, this is the future that they want to build, and this is the future that they're aiming towards, whether you are part of it or not. We need an alternative system that doesn't rely on the trust me bros and the global elites that didn't invite you to the meeting that says that you're a part of. The ability that they're looking for is provided in Bitcoin, in actuality.
Okay, So what we're seeing right now in the financial markets are absolutely crazy. So Japan's 30-year yield have risen to a new high. You can see it absolutely going crazy here. Now, why is this important? Because throughout the last, well, 20 years, what's been pumping the US stock market is a lot of it has to do with people taking out cheap loans, like free money. There's been so much free, cheap liquidity in the markets, but especially from Japan. You take out a Japan loan here in Japanese yen, you pump it into the US stock market because the yields, you essentially got the money for free. You didn't have to pay any interest on it. Now, when the rates are going up, that means that it puts pressure on the financial markets because these people, these institutions, countries that have been borrowing Japanese yen, well, now with the interest rates going up, they need to start repaying those.
Well, then the Japanese would probably be forced to prevent a really bad economic outcome to ditch the dollar to buy oil and gas in yen from who would ever sell it to them. And Russia would do so. And Russia's got the capacity. So, and that says nothing about the rub-off effects of that. The JGB market has been a funding currency. The yen has been a funding currency for 20, 30 years. We saw in the summer of 2024, yen gets too strong, everything goes risk off. Yen gets too weak, it's also a problem because that means the dollar's getting too strong. We've seen that multiple times over the last 5 years. So I think I'm discouraged by the complacency around most market participants and strategists, where again, it's just this chest thumping of, we have all the leverage and no one else can do anything. And in the meantime, I'm watching them do something, right? And because, oh, by the way, the Chinese did do the dual use restrictions. The Chinese are strengthening the yuan.
Right now, we do have the markets going down due to uncertainty, but with that happening, we do have gold, silver, precious metals seen as hedges against inflation, moving up, going parabolic. Gold, making a new all-time high again of $4,750 per ounce, now up 10% this month, adding $15 trillion in market cap in the past year. Just absolutely insane. We can see, guys, ever since 2025, we have gold going from around 2,500 all the way up to 4,700, almost a double in price. And guys, this is very impressive due to the market cap of gold being the trillions. Guys, it requires a lot of money to move gold.
BTC. So, I was bearish. Every time we were here, I said we could be in a bear flag, could be in a bear flag. Then we got this beautiful pump to the upside. So we just have to have this weekly candle close above resistance. It came down with the wick, but it was like, okay, maybe there's a chance here. We're just butting out, right? Like, it was still okay. And then this week has just been really dismal. Everything has been given back. It turned nasty. And it's also, people will blame the news and tariffs and stuff like this, but it does make uneasiness. People are rushing into gold again and making gold the FOMO. Weird how Bitcoin just doesn't, is not the answer. I have to be honest. People are choosing gold over Bitcoin at the present moment in time.
For Bitcoin, we take a look and it was back down to 90,000. And yesterday we had warned that, Bitcoin was going to be coming back down below 92,000 on its way to 91,000. And sure enough, it blew by it down to 90,000 for Bitcoin. Now, we're at a critical level here to hold, right? If we can hold these levels, we can recover back very quickly.
Here on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we have a lot of things to talk about today, guys. So let's start with the fact that we actually, since losing this orange line here at $95,000, I said that now it is looking likely that we are going to go down to $88,500, which is the next level of support. And that is exactly what happened, guys. We lost this level, and as we lost this, we almost immediately went down. It took 48 hours or so, and we went down to the next level of support at my orange line at $88,500. Now, I'm getting a lot of messages from all of you guys who actually shorted this move here and were able to make a lot of money on this downwards move, and now close the short here at my orange line.
So, did you enjoy the app? Let me know in the comments.